Michigan outlasts Alabama. They're headed to the college football national championship game. 27-20 was the final, an overtime victory. This game lived up to the hype of the moment, I would say. Maybe not the hype of like, these are the best two teams in this college football playoff. I don't feel like we saw great football by anyone here. We did see drama. We saw two of the biggest brands in the sport in the greatest stadium you can play football in. And the moment itself absolutely lived up to the expectation. Just throw it to you broadly. I know you're hanging in there as a Michigan State football fan today. Um, did you enjoy this game? Did you enjoy the drama?
So like it's two sections for me. Like I enjoyed the suspense, overtime in a college football playoff game. Michigan scores, comes down fourth and goal from the three. Bama has a chance to win. Like that suspense, that part of the game, I enjoyed. The last drive by Michigan to put it away, the drive before by Bama to actually go up. There was a lot of I guess, suspenseful moments. The overall quality though of the football game, just wasn't as exciting. Just kind of sloppy special teams errors. Just not really much going on for a large portion of the game. But it ended up being suspenseful, exciting at the end. The moment.
Yeah, and I think Michigan answered the call in the moment is the most interesting part. Like they tried to lose this game 100 times before ultimately one final chance to lose the game, and they won the game. Like they went out and took it when it mattered most. The big drive, Blake Corum with big plays all over the place. The overtime, two plays, two handoffs to Blake Corum. He's in the end zone. The defense was the story of this game, though, from Michigan side. Dominant, I would say. I think that's a fair word. Now, this Alabama offense hasn't been by any means stellar all season. They've had ups and downs. They've had games where they look great. They've had games where they have not looked great. Jalen Milroe was benched against USF. He didn't play. Tommy Rees played Tommy Buckner, and they were tied at that game at halftime to South Florida. There have been warning signs that he's not that dude and that this Alabama offense would struggle all season long, in my opinion. Now, give Milroe credit, as you pointed out in the preview. He got a lot better over the course of the season. But he had no answers. Michigan's defense got whatever they wanted in this game. He was under pressure the entire time. I thought, I thought Minter was stellar with his game plan here. He just had Alabama on their back foot the entire game. And to me, that was the biggest reason Michigan won. We can point to Corum and JJ stepping up and doing big things when it mattered. The story of this was that Michigan's defense gave them a chance to win this game despite all the special teams errors and despite the offense having 20 yards in the third quarter, because they were the best unit on the field that either team had.
Yeah, Michigan defensive line in general had they won the battle in the trenches in this basketball in this football game. They won the battle in the trenches, both on the offense, especially on the defensive side. And Michigan's defense and defensive coordinator, I'll throw this in there, Minter, had Tommy Rees and them boys in hell. In absolute, Tommy Rees and Bama had no answer for picking up blitzes. They had no answer for even when they didn't blitz. Guys are just getting to the ball, they're just blowing guys off the line. So yeah, I think that seeing them do that, I guess that wouldn't be the way I think they would come into the game. I guess I expect them, because they had a good offensive line, a good running game. I could see them, having some success running the ball, but I didn't expect the defensive line to just dominate Bama's offensive line like that. I know Bama's offensive line hasn't been any world beaters by any stretch of the imagination, but I just didn't imagine. I don't know how many sacks they ended up with, but they were in Milroe's head the whole game.
Yeah, I think the Milroe conversation is interesting because I think everyone that's talking about this game, both just Twitter fans and also actual talking heads, I think it's really difficult to talk about Milroe as a quarterback without doing the racist white guy talking about a black quarterback thing. It,
This is what Milroe plays like racist people talk about black quarterbacks.
Look, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live up to the tropes of that, right? I don't intend to do that. What I will say is this: the guy is not good if he has to make more than one read. That's what I saw from him in this game. He was a first read guy the entire game, no matter what the look was, whether that's looking down one receiver if he's supposed to pass, even if it was like a designed run. To me, like there's not a lot of flexibility on a mid-play basis with him. Like if he's like, I need to run left, he's running left and he's not diverse enough to like cut it back right.
Yeah, wait, okay, that's what really threw me off. I guess I didn't watch enough Bama and Milroe. Why is this dude such an athletic freak, but he can't make a cut?
Well,
Like
that's he
he can't
shies
stay on he can't
away.
like stay on his feet or change direction. I don't get it.
It shies away from contact. Like you saw him run out of bounds when he could have picked up extra yards. You saw him go down at the like 1 yard short of a first down a couple times. And then then on the big touchdown run he had, or down to like the 2 yard line or whatever, like he runs through a dude and shows his physicality. So he's got to be one of the more infuriating players to watch in the country, I'm sure, for Alabama fans, because the talent is there, but man, I just don't trust that kid between the ears. And again, I feel like that's a little bit uncomfortable to do the tropey thing of like, he's not a quarterback, he's an athlete. Like, I think he is a quarterback. I just think he's a bad quarterback. Like, I don't trust him mentally at all. And I thought Michigan exploited
you
that.
said it. He's got the awareness of Andre Curbelo.
Right. Like it was like watching Brandon Johns play quarterback for 60 minutes. Like I couldn't be less afraid of that guy. And I think that was the biggest reason that Michigan's defense looked so good in this game was like, he didn't even know where pressure was coming from. And give Minter credit for that, give the Michigan defense credit for that. But like, there wasn't much Milroe was going to do that was going to solve that. And when it got down to overtime, I think that's the moment Michigan fans could really feel like, oh, we have an advantage in this game because Alabama's going to come down to what Milroe does in that setting. And Michigan's going to come down to what Blake Corum does. And you'll take Corum over Milroe every single day in that setting. So this is the last thing I want on Milroe. In the preview, I asked you point blank, who do you trust more, Milroe, McCarthy? You said Milroe. I pushed back on you briefly. Do you want to adjust your statement on that? This is crazy generational hate if you're not willing to say that you would rather have McCarthy in this game than Milroe.
What? Oh, no, I'd rather have McCarthy.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to prop up here because pregame you said you'd rather have Milroe than McCarthy in this game.
I think I said I trust Milroe. Did I say want?
It was like, which one would you take? And you said Milroe.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, after that, I would take JJ. JJ didn't have to do much for me to take him in this game against Milroe, but yes.
Okay. Can we do the JJ conversation briefly without both of us like clicking out of our Zoom call because we hate each other? I know this has been a contested point for us this year. Here's where I'm at with JJ. I don't think this was a great JJ McCarthy game. I don't even know that I would call it a good JJ McCarthy game. Obviously, the very first play of the game, he throws what should have been a pick. It was a horrible one, the worst one I've ever seen from him, even worse than the TCU ones. And you're thinking like, damn, all the big game JJ shit is true. Like he's terrified right now. You don't know what's going on. He gets an all-time bailout, lucky guy stepped out of bounds play. Yes, you can point to specific throws within the game. Like there was one third down where he left a guy like short on the left side where if he had let him, it's probably a 20-yard first down. He also had balls that he put right on the numbers with Samaj Morgan, go through Samaj Morgan's hands. To me, I think a large part of the JJ conversation is that Michigan's receivers are not that good. I've kind of said that all year. Like if Roman Wilson is your number one, you don't have a great receiving corps.
Hey,
Now,
Roman helped him out. Roman had a big catch.
Give Roman credit on the big catch off the tip. Absolutely. But like if your only dynamic guy in the room is Roman Wilson, I think the fact that Roman Wilson has looked as good as he is this year should be points toward JJ's clearly very good more than like Roman's so dynamic. Like I just don't see that. I think Roman's like a third receiver slot guy on a really good team. For Michigan, he's their only big threat in the receiving game. Like Cornelius Johnson was nowhere to be found in this game. I know he had one toe tap catch on the sidelines, but like, look, Alabama's secondary is really good too. These guys weren't getting open really at all, in my opinion. And when they were open, he was under pressure, blah, 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 whatever. The point is, if we're going to sit here and say like JJ McCarthy had a bad game in a game where he went 17 for 27 for 221 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, including a 75-yard drive in the legacy moment down 7, then he's a good quarterback. Like then he's arguably, if that's a bad game in this moment, then he's a great quarterback because A bad game from a bad quarterback is what Jalen Milroe did tonight. Like, there's two great quarterbacks in the other semi. We're going to do a recap of it. Quinn Ewers and Michael Penix. Those guys are great. Ewers is an NFL arm. Penix is the best player in the country. Those guys are great. But like, if you're gonna sit here and tell me that was a bad game from JJ, he's a great quarterback, because that was like, he gave his team chances to win this game and ultimately showed up in the biggest moments. That's my read on this. I'm sure you'll disagree. Where are you at with JJ?
No, it was a good performance. Like it was, he did not turn the ball over, and he made the throws when they had to be made. Like even if it was, I mean, he had the one that was tipped to Roman Wilson. He had a couple big time throws, like that toe tap one was so good. He had some throws, some on the run throws. Um, he on that last drive, there was a coverage breakdown and he threw it out to Corum and Corum ran for 50 yards. On the other one, that was it Tyler Morris, I believe it was, who I haven't seen all year for Michigan. All of a sudden they throw him a 10-yard out route guarded by a linebacker and he just turns on speed and houses it. So JJ didn't turn the ball over. He had throws that were off. He made throws. He had throws that were dropped. It was like he had a good game. It was a good game.
Okay.
You can't hate on it.
Yeah, and look, I get the whole like, oh, game manager. He's a game manager. He's the only game manager in the country that makes a one-handed catch on the double reverse pass and still turns that into a 30-yard play. Like if that's your game manager, making that turned into getting hit, turned into a 30-yard gain, that's the most dynamic game manager play I've seen this year. So I get like he is a very good game manager. He also can do shit like that. That's like what just happened. Like that should have been 7 points the other way based on that play call, based on the throw that was thrown to JJ, and he saved it. I mean, if Alabama scores going the other way there, the game's over. So I just think that should be called out. All right. I'm surprised you called that a good JJ game. I didn't expect that from you, but I'll take it.
I didn't expect that from IMG Drew Lock.
Okay. NFL quarterback Drew Lock, who has some shit to him, by the way. We've talked about that.
If Drew Lock didn't know the lyrics to a Jeezy song, he would be recording with us.
JJ would be great in a podcast setting. I'm just saying.
Do we have an answer for why JJ meditates like this?
No. I get that like JJ does a lot of like aware of the cameras things. I won't say that I think JJ's corny, because I think JJ's cool enough that his corny stuff kind of gets canceled out by him actually being intrinsically kind of cool. But he's always aware of the cameras. Like if you watch the post game, he wanted the Charles Woodson rose in the mouth moment. And like Charles Woodson's rose in the mouth moment was like just this organic moment of joy that someone caught. JJ's was like, I'm doing a post game interview and I've waited until this moment to put the rose in my mouth. So here, like smile for the it was just, I'm like, come on, kid. Like you're cool enough. You can do it organically and people will find you. So Sharon Moore, I was texting you about it during the game. Look, I think Sharon Moore is a very good offensive coordinator. I think he's a very good football coach in general. I think he's been a big part of Michigan's success these last couple seasons. I felt that Sharon Moore was auditioning for the head coaching job in this game. I felt that Sharon, and look, he probably already has it locked up. Like if Jim Harbaugh's leaving, I anticipate the job's going to immediately be Sharon Moore's. With that said, he was calling this game like Michigan was like 14-point underdogs, like like doing shit they've never done all season long. This is a program that has built itself on, we're just going to run, manage the game. No one can stop our running attack. We're going to man ball you. And then in this game where the run was working, they were like, no, none of that. Trick plays, flea flicker, reverse pass. Hey, Alex Orgy, come here. We're going to set up some orgy packages. Like I'd never seen it. I know they've been creative at times. I felt that the play calls set up Michigan for failure constantly on the offensive end in this game. And he was getting too cute. Ultimately, it didn't matter. But I think in hindsight, man, the drive where they went 75 yards and coincidentally in overtime, there was no cute shit. This was just back to what makes Michigan good. Like let JJ and Blake make plays that they've made all year. What did you see from Sharon?
I was just rattled that there was a good portion of the game to start where I'm like, so are we going to get like they're good. They have Corum. Like Corum's good, right? Like Corum doesn't have a stomach bug or something like that. I think that Sharon gets in that mode where he's like, I don't know if it's wanting to like audition for a head coaching job or something like that, or being too cute. It's just like, I don't want you to think I can't do these other things, so I'm gonna work in some Alex. Like he wants to be regarded as like some type of like offensive guru or something like that. Like, you know how I relate to like the NFL, and we give guys like Shanahan, Ben Johnson, McDaniel, like all these offensive guys, all this credit for like weird motion or packages where they're doing like quirky stuff. And like that's awesome and that's really good. But those guys also go back to their bread and butter when it comes down to it. Like, even though Ben Johnson and the Lions have all this ability to run all these trick plays and things like that, we also are like, okay, we got a great offensive line and David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who are both 1,000-yard rushers. Let's keep running them the ball. I feel like Michigan can keep stuff really simple and just hand it to Corum 25 times a game plus, and that should work with their offensive line. The flea flickers were weird. The orgy package was weird. Even, I mean, shit, if JJ doesn't make that one-handed catch, that play is catastrophically bad.
Yeah. And look, he's been creative at times this season and it's worked. That the one thing I will give more credit for is like typically when they try to dial up something creative, it usually has led to success. And even on the flea flicker, they showed the replay of it. Like if the flea flicker is executed cleanly, they had a wide open receiver. It might have been a touchdown, but the timing of that was ridiculous. Like you have this huge momentum swing. I think it was a 4-point game at that point. You're nearly in field goal range. And that's when you dial it up. Like you had Alabama on their heels. It felt like, again, it felt like Michigan offensively felt like they were the underdog in this game. It felt like they felt like they needed to go steal this game. When in reality, they were controlling the game on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. If they would just hand the ball to Blake Corum and defend, and instead, the special teams put them in spots where they had to steal the game, but it was just weird. I feel like you play that game 10 times. If the special teams errors are made every single time, then Alabama wins it more often than not with the way Michigan called it. But like, if you play that game 10 times based on what I saw defensively, Michigan probably wins 8 or 9 of them with normal play calls and just being solid. Like, they were clearly the better football team, I thought, on both ends, minus special teams. And Sharon Moore, I felt, gave Alabama chances to stay in it with weird calls. Blake Corum, Michigan legend, maybe a college football legend at this point, depending on what Michigan does in the national championship. I think it's rare in this era that a running back is a team's best player or is the face of the program. We saw it with Michigan State with Kenneth Walker. They had a transcendent season under him. You saw, really with Michigan, it's just been Blake during the Blake era. He's been that good. And McCarthy gets a lot of the love too. Like they kind of package them together. Blake Corum's the face of this program. He's the best player on this team. It's been true for 3 years. And him coming back off the injury to do one more season that is now potentially fulfilling itself in a national championship is one of the cooler things I feel like college football has seen in a really long time. He's a Michigan great already, no matter what happens in the national championship game. He's their touchdown leader, all of that. But if they win a national championship and Blake Corum has a good game, I think he's like, it's Charles Woodson, it's Blake Corum in Michigan history. You I think agree with this. You were texting me about the legend that is Blake Corum last night.
Yeah, like Corum is, if you're making your Michigan Mount Rushmore, if they win a title, he's probably up there. Or if you're, I think I stated to you like Corum is the best Michigan running back of all time. Now, I don't know, what other running backs you want to throw in that category, but like, I don't see anybody who's had a better career than if he caps it off with this. That'd just be insane.
Yeah, it's
And he had like legacy plays in that game. Like,
oh, the
oh,
overtime was crazy.
yeah.
The catch too. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
overtime from the 20, and they just like, we're just gonna run it twice, and he's just making all these cuts, and then he turns the coverage breakdown into like a 50-yard game. Like he had his legacy moments.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I know with Michigan football in general, like obviously there's a dark cloud, I would say, nationally. If you're not a Michigan fan, you're watching this season. there's just a lot of extra stuff with this, right? I don't think most people would be rooting for this team given all of the Connor Stallion stuff. The hard part for me has been like Blake Corum's such a good dude that like I feel like almost sometimes at a national level, I feel like that's almost gotten lost in this because you just sort of assume like everyone on Michigan is like a scumbag given how this program has handled themselves in the last 4 years. Like Blake Corum, since the moment he put a Michigan uniform on, has been like one of the greatest dudes. He just has been. Like the toy drive he just did was sick. It was 100% him. He's always been like a team first guy, good interview, all that shit. I know that doesn't matter, but it just makes it a little more fulfilling when you watch his story play out the way it has, where he has succeeded. It's like it should be really easy to root for that guy. And I'm really happy for him because I don't know, like post the injury he had, I don't know what type of NFL future he has. I think he would have been drafted for sure pre-injury, maybe not been an NFL star or anything because he's small, but post injury, like he is less explosive this year than he was last year. I don't know that he's going to get drafted. So at minimum, like to see his choice to return fulfilled the way it's been has been really cool.
Yeah, hasn't fulfilled me that much, but yeah, I could see.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Do you think this was something I was listening to ESPN talk about this morning? If Michigan wins the national championship, is there an asterisk on it?
Probably not. No, not in my eyes.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. I don't know if like there obviously won't be immediately. Who knows what could come out in the future that like, sanction type shit could happen, but like in your heart of hearts, if Michigan wins the national championship, is it like is there a side note to that or were they
Yeah,
just
can it like there isn't an asterisk, but like they also are cheaters. But like but there's no asterisk. Like they beat everyone. Yeah.
I think the asterisk has disappeared following Penn State, Ohio State, Big Ten championship, Alabama, with Stallions not on the sideline, right? Like the allegations of cheating happened before that stretch. They've been pretty flawless in that stretch.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything on special teams? We kind of just glossed over that. Like,
I mean,
what's going on there?
just some pretty baffling decisions. Like they put some dude back there just because some odd work has been dropping it. And his first punt of the game is one they just need him to catch and just not lose. And he almost like thank God that ball didn't bounce in the end zone.
Would have been the most crushing loss in sports history if you
Right.
lose
Or
in that
even
fashion.
I still don't even get they called the timeout after they took the second down snap just to take another snap and knee. That made no then they could
So
have let the clock run out.
unless I'm missing this, I believe Alabama took their timeout,
Yeah.
and then Michigan took a timeout before the next snap.
No, they snapped it and he took a knee and then they
They
called
blew
it.
I think they blew the play dead though, because it was still second
Did they?
down. It was still second down after the Michigan timeout.
Oh, did they?
Unless I'm totally seeing that wrong. I believe
Okay.
it was second down when they went back out after the Michigan timeout.
Got you.
But everything was a blur for me.
Wait,
And
no.
power.
You're right. They did, but then they called a timeout and he took a knee on third down, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think there was a third down play.
Oh, well,
Unless I'm wrong.
anyway, like
Yeah,
the
crazy.
special teams were horrific. Honestly.
Yes.
Horrific.
Ridiculous.
Like Ross L's level, horrific.
The jokes about Jay Harbaugh being the special teams coordinator are hilarious. I almost made the joke myself. I stopped myself from making the joke because I think it's lost in this is the fact that Michigan special teams have been nasty the entire tenure of Jay Harbaugh. So like this was disaster, like Armageddon, Oppenheimer level bad, but it's the first time they've ever been bad.
Well, that's because he lost his star. Like he's been riding Moody's coattails.
Yeah, but like they've never had muffed punt issues with this team or with other teams. Like this kicker's 16 for 18 on the season. He misses a 49-yarder. Like, okay, but that's not an easy kick. It's not like he missed a 30-yarder. But like, I don't know. I just like, yes, disaster. Don't think the jokes of like Jay Harbaugh, haha, nepotism make any sense because he's been one of the better special teams coordinators in the sport since he's been here. The players just nowhere to be found in this. It was crazy. All right. We will have a recap for Washington, Texas up on the channel as well. We'll have a preview up for the national championship game at some point before that game. Why don't you get the final say here, Cart? Any final thoughts on Alabama, Michigan, or Michigan season, or Alabama season, or anything your heart desires?
Thanks a lot, Tommy Reese and Jalen Milroe.
You have a week to prepare your hate.
Yeah, I'll be ready.
Do you want to own any responsibility for this loss?
No, I did my part.
Did you? Because, I mean, you addressed it on Twitter. You said your hate wasn't good enough.
Yeah, my hate wasn't good enough. That's just something inside me personally. That's not hate I need to project.
So your hate was enough for Alabama to win this game.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll see.